Useless old man should just take no seat. If they can't walk anymore, they should just quit the company already. I've been working in sales at my company for 30 years. Following an accident, I became disabled and couldn't let go of my cane. My female successor, Kathy, looked down on me. It's a nuisance for everyone else if you just stick around. That might be true, but her way of saying it was quite harsh. As I was pondering what to do, a woman appeared. My name is Michael. I was a salesman at an interior design company. I had been working hard in the sales department since I was a fresh graduate, but a few years ago, I was involved in a traffic accident during work and my leg was severely injured. My knee became stiff and difficult to move. Since then, I've been forced to live a somewhat inconvenient life, unable to walk without a cane. I tried hard with rehabilitation, but I never managed to walk as I used to. I could no longer travel around to meet clients, and my work shifted to mainly desk work at the office. The accident happened about 2 years ago. I was in a branch office, driving a company car to a client's place as usual. I believe it was a right turn ahead. The sky was clear on a beautiful autumn day, neither too hot nor too cold, just comfortable. Though it was a major road, it wasn't crowded due to the time. However, the visibility at the upcoming intersection was a bit poor. While enjoying the cheerful music from the speakers, I entered the right turn lane. Oops, a pedestrian, huh? As I was doing my safety check approaching the intersection, I saw a truck speeding in the lane where it should have been stopping for the red light. Hey, you're going to stop, right? The truck didn't seem to be slowing down, swaying quite a bit. There were still pedestrians crossing, and the line of cars waiting to turn right behind me was packed. No way, The truck didn't stop at the stop line and crashed into the car I was in. My car was thrown into an indescribable spin. It was fortunate that the driver's seat wasn't hit directly. Ouch. I felt like I lost consciousness for a few seconds or minutes. When I looked around, the car was distorted, and the windshield was cracked all over. The airbag had deployed, indicating the impact was beyond imagination. I unbuckled my seatbelt, forced to open a creaking, defunct door, and crawled out. The intersection was in complete chaos. The truck that hit me had knocked down several street trees and stopped in a convenience store parking lot. Is the driver over there okay? If the driver had lost consciousness due to a medical condition and went out of control, it must be tough for them too. With that thought, I tried to cross the street. Whoa. I fell within just a few steps. I instinctively reached out my hands, but my forehead hit the ground. A warm sensation trickled down towards my chin from where I hit. However, more concerning than the pain or discomfort was my leg that wouldn't muster any strength. Can't I plant my feet? Looking at my aching right leg, it appeared like a mere stick, stretched out straight. Despite the pain, I tried to stand up, but my knee wouldn't bend. Forcing it to bend seemed futile, as it likely couldn't support my weight. Are you okay? As I lamented my inability to stand, the truck driver rushed over to me. He seemed to have injuries above his right eye and on his right side, but he appeared okay enough to run. That was somewhat relieving. Just as I thought that, my vision started to spin. I'll call an ambulance right now. Despite his calls, my eyelids gradually fell. Initially, I tried to keep awake, but then realized it would be easier to just sleep, so I stopped resisting. When I next woke up, the first thing I saw was an unfamiliar white ceiling. Moving my eyes, I saw curtains, some machines I couldn't identify, and an IV drip. Hospital, huh? The memory of the accident flashed back in my mind. But I thought it must have been a bad dream or something, so I tried to move my body. My neck, Both arms and my left leg moved just fine. This is bad. Only my right leg wouldn't move at all. More precisely, I couldn't bend my knee. I could lift it from the hip if I tried, but there was an unfathomable fear of moving it forcefully, making me hesitate. "Are you awake, Michael?" As I groaned to myself, a man in a white coat parted the curtains and appeared. "I am Dr. Miller, in charge of your care." "Thanks." My brusque greeting seemed to darken Dr. Miller's expression. He said nothing for a few seconds, just looking at my immobile right leg. "How's my leg? How long will it take to heal? When can I start driving and moving around again?" "It won't be immediate. Let's work hard on rehabilitation. I'll assist you." From Dr. Miller's hesitation and tone, I could somewhat guess. My leg would probably never return to how it was before. Running freely was likely impossible now. Strangely, I felt no sadness or anger towards the truck driver. I just felt incredibly sudden. Even though I understood that my nearly 30-year career as a salesman had abruptly ended, I couldn't fully grasp it emotionally. "Hey, when can I drive again? When will I be able to travel all over the country?" "Michael." Even though I knew it was impossible, I kept asking Dr. Miller the same questions. I wanted affirmation. I wanted him, a medical expert, to tell me that I could be a salesman again. But he didn't say that. Giving hope and not lying contradicted each other in this situation. As a doctor, he probably couldn't say anything irresponsible. It was then that I first shed tears. The cause of the accident was the truck driver falling asleep at the wheel. It wasn't due to a loss of consciousness from a chronic condition or drowsiness from medication side effects. The working conditions at the trucking company he worked for were extremely poor, and he hadn't been getting enough sleep. The night before the accident, he had hardly slept and was on his 12th consecutive day of work. "I'm truly sorry." The driver, who had brought a gift as a gesture of apology, offered his deep apologies to me, seated in my wheelchair. "Please don't apologize. You're a victim in this situation too. Since the fault lies with his company, I couldn't blame him. Besides, no matter how much he apologized or how much money I received, it wouldn't make my legs work again. I will have to live with this disability for the rest of my life. That fact remains unchanged. Well, it's time for my rehabilitation, so I'll be taking my leave now. If there's anything I can do for you, please let me know. I want to take some responsibility." Despite my telling him not to apologize, he continued to do so as I left. "In that case, could you push my wheelchair to the rehabilitation room? I'm not used to operating it and my arms are sore." "Of course, leave it to me." Though I had asked for his assistance, neither of us knew what to talk about, and we reached the destination in silence. He had to go to the police station that afternoon, so we parted ways there. As for me, I continued with my usual rehabilitation routine. I would fall into my right leg, then get up using the strength of my arms and left leg. I repeated this frustrating process so much that I sighed. As a result of continuing with rehabilitation, I reached a level where I could walk somewhat with the aid of a cane. However, I couldn't work outside as actively as before. Not wanting to resign myself to unemployment, I obediently followed instructions to transfer to the administrative department of the same company. At the same time, for certain reasons, it was decided that I would transfer from the branch to the headquarters. After I started working in the administrative department at the headquarters, I received a message from Kathy, who worked at the branch. Kathy had taken over my duties at the branch and was a 30-year-old woman serving as the manager of the sales division. It seemed she wanted to visit the headquarters for inspection. The lack of interaction between the headquarters and the branches had been an issue, so this was a good opportunity. Thinking so, I accepted her request. She is coming to the headquarters today. As someone familiar with her, I volunteered to be her guide. It looks like Kathy has just arrived. Welcome to the headquarters. How can I help you today? I walked to the office in trance, leaning on my cane, to greet her. Thank you. Please show me around as soon as possible. I don't have much time to spare. I had intended to welcome her warmly, but she spoke with a somewhat cold attitude. I've heard that people nowadays tend to be more detached, but is this what they mean? Yet, somehow, she seems a bit different from before. Understood. I'll show you around. First, I'll start with the office we're in. Turning around, I indicate each section with my left hand. My right hand still on the cane. This is the administrative department. Since my transfer, I've been working here. I might be in other areas at times, but feel free to approach me if you need anything. Even as I said that, Kathy didn't even offer a courtesy smile. She just kept scribbling notes. I want to engage with her more casually, but I wonder if it's a lost cause. That back there is accounting, and by the window over there is the development department. As I continued with the detailed explanations, Kathy closed her notebook with a snap and started walking briskly. Kathy. She proceeded without saying a word. Following her, it seemed she was going around greeting each department head. If that was her plan, I wish she would have told me. I sighed inwardly at this thought. This is the vice president's office, and beyond that is the president's office. They've been informed of your visit for inspection. Is that so? She didn't meet my gaze even for a second, but finally responded. Kathy then moved on to the vice president's office without a second glance. After a few minutes, she came out and headed straight to the break room, where she began greeting people who were making coffee. She skipped the president's office upon seeing a not present sign. Kathy moved on from one place to the next without waiting for me, dragging my leg along. As she said earlier, she must be busy. Next is the development room. It's located above the factory, so shall we go? Oh. Kathy had already started walking in the middle of my explanation. Her heels clicked as she ascended the stairs. Since I needed to use the elevator, I had to take a longer route. Are you ready yet? When I arrived at the development room, Kathy was waiting with crossed arms, looking irritated. I'm sorry for the delay. It's because of my leg. I apologized with a sheepish smile, but she glanced at my cane, sighed, and looked away with a hum sound. Taking out a notepad and pen from her pocket was probably her way of urging me to hurry up with the explanation. Here, we handle everything from interior design and planning to handmade prototypes and considering mass production. Technical details are hard to grasp from verbal explanations alone, and I wasn't familiar with them either. With this in mind, I had already spoken to the head of the technical department, David, in advance. Please, come in. Oh, and please change into slippers at the entrance. Yes. She responded coldly again and entered the development room. She was listening to the explanations, but I couldn't help feeling like she disliked me. So, this is how the development process flows. I see. That's very clear. Kathy was very engaged in David's explanations, nodding vigorously. Her tone was bright and cheerful, a stark contrast to her interactions with me. Seeing this, I felt a bit uneasy. Did I do something to upset her? As we were heading to the reception room after the last part of the tour, Kathy surprisingly initiated a conversation. Why did you come to the headquarters, Michael? Well, it's because of this leg, I suppose. I really wanted to continue as a salesman, but I can't drive anymore. As usual, there was no response, only the sound of my cane and her heels echoing in the hallway. People at the branch said they miss you. Wouldn't it have been better if you had stayed? The way she phrased it didn't seem like a pure question. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it felt like there was an underlying message of, isn't it presumptuous for someone like you to be working at the headquarters? Well, the transfer was decided by my superiors at the time. Even though I tried to be vague, Kathy's expression didn't clear up. It seemed she held the idea of working at the headquarters in high regard. I believe that the work doesn't change whether at the branch or headquarters, but she seemed to think differently. Being involved in major projects and career advancement seemed to require a position at the headquarters, in her opinion. And she's not the only one who thinks this way. I've heard there are other employees who share Kathy's perspective. You could have stayed comfortably in the countryside. Why were you transferred to the headquarters? Well, I'm not sure why. Kathy was grumbling complaints while walking a few steps ahead of me. The distance between us kept growing. It must be tough for the headquarters too, having someone who's a drag on the team. Perhaps thinking she had made a clever joke, she looked back at my leg, smirking as she spoke. I've become used to such comments and continued to ignore them without taking them to heart. Don't you think it's nonsensical that you, who can hardly do anything now, are at the headquarters while I'm stuck in a rural branch? Her veiled insults gradually turned into direct rudeness. We arrived at the reception room amidst this uncomfortable atmosphere. Upon opening the door to the reception room, she immediately took the seat. She crossed her legs and leaned back in her chair. Useless old man should just take no seat. If you can't walk anymore, you should just quit the company already. It's a nuisance for everyone else if you just stick around. As soon as we entered the enclosed space, she insulted me with a laugh. That must have been her true feelings behind all the snide remarks she had made so far. Ha ha ha, perhaps you're right. I responded with a laugh, not letting it bother me, which only seemed to frustrate Kathy more. Being unfazed by her words must have been irksome to her. Following her words, I didn't take a seat and stood there. Then, there was a knock at the door. "Excuse me." With that, the door opened, and a woman entered. In her hand, she carries a tray with 2 cups of coffee. Her name was Sophie. She was the head of the secretarial department and served as the president's secretary. Often featured on the cover of the company newsletter, she was somewhat of a celebrity within the company, known across both headquarters and branches. Of course, Kathy would know her face and name. Why would the president's secretary be serving coffee to us? Kathy was surprised and asked this question with wide eyes, but Sophie seemed too flustered to respond. "Dad, why are you standing there? Did your leg get worse?" She abandoned serving coffee and showed concern for my leg instead. The coffee on the tray, though not spilled, was rippling. "No, it's not like that. I did walk more than usual today, so I'm a bit tired, though. Could I have some coffee?" "Oh, why don't you sit down? You had me worried." With my explanation, she regained her composure and carried the tray to Kathy. "I'm sorry to keep you waiting." Wait, are you two related? Like, are you father and daughter?" Picking up on the unexpected connection from our conversation, she asked the president's secretary. "Yes. Sophie is my daughter. While some people are aware of this, others simply think we share the same last name by coincidence." Kathy was one such example. "The president recently changed, and now my father is serving as the president. I have the honor of being his secretary, though it's a bit embarrassing to be a family member in this role." The president changed. Kathy's mouth fell open in shock at Sophie's words. Wasn't this communicated to the branch as well? Perhaps there was a misunderstanding. Kathy turned pale, her previously crossed legs now placed squarely on the floor. I hadn't mentioned it, thinking she was already aware. So, she didn't know. The person she had been disparaging and belittling was the president of the headquarters. It must have been a shocking revelation for her. Kathy, it seems you've been quite supportive to my father. Before anything else, I'd like to thank you as his daughter. Such an attitude towards someone with a disability really shows how self-centered you are. I overheard the conversation before I entered the room. Sophie fixed a straight, cold gaze on Kathy. Do you even realize what you've said and to whom? Suddenly lowering her tone, Sophie confronted Kathy. Taken aback by such a sudden change, Kathy slid back in her chair. Stop it, Sophie. I interjected, and Sophie immediately reverted to her usual self. In the uncomfortable silence, I addressed Kathy. You must have your own thoughts about me, right? I know I've caused you a lot of trouble with my sudden transfer and the handover wasn't sufficient. I truly apologize for that. I spoke calmly, trying to reason with her. She looked utterly astonished by my words. I've heard a lot from the branch office about how well you're doing. Me. As I nodded, she slightly looked down. Then, lifting her gaze, she began to speak softly. I was often compared to you at the branch office. It wasn't harassment. Nor was it about being better or worse. But taking over my job and living up to expectations was hard and pressurizing for her. Everyone says, it's okay if you can't do it like Michael, you're not him. I don't usually like to say this, but I have 30 years of experience. Expecting the same or even more from someone else is unreasonable. Perhaps that's why people said such encouraging words to her, as she recounted. But to Kathy, it felt like a burden. No matter what I do, I can't surpass Michael, let alone catch up. It's terrifying. She was tormented by the fear of not meeting expectations and jealousy. She felt like she didn't belong. That's why she had been harsh towards me, she explained with tearful eyes. And every time I heard people regretting your transfer, I felt like I was nothing. Every time she heard praises for me, Kathy felt like she was being labeled incompetent. It's not just about others' perceptions. Every time I looked at the work you left, I was filled with anxiety and uncertainty. She felt crushed from the outside and the inside. Wondering if I could fill your shoes, who had raised the branch's sales to be comparable to the headquarters, was my daily torment. Kathy confessed through tears. After a moment of silence, I spoke up. What's expected of you and me is different. Chasing after my shadow won't get you anywhere, I believe. Originally, my goal was to acquire new clients and train employees, as commanded by the previous president. After achieving this, I was assigned to transfer to the headquarters, leaving the branch in the hands of Kathy and others. I enjoyed being a salesman and was reluctant, but then that accident happened. With my right leg now impaired, I resignedly accepted the transfer. Since the branch is in a rural area, acquiring new clients will be tough due to the limited target demographic. What I want from you is to maintain and improve quality. I'd like you to enhance customer satisfaction from your unique perspective. Saying this, Kathy showed a soft expression I had never seen before. Well, I was hoping you'd realize this on your own. I accept the assignment. Kathy nodded repeatedly, tearfully making her declaration. However, Sophie still lashed out at Kathy. She wasn't ready to forgive. Trying to make this a heartwarming story won't make me forgive you. Your attitude towards my father earlier revealed your true character. Sophie shared with Kathy the hardships and the events that had transpired with me. That accident could have been life-threatening with just one wrong step. The rehabilitation afterwards was tough, too. He still goes for sessions whenever he has the time. Despite my disability, I truly wanted to continue working as a salesman. I had to suppress that desire and leave the branch office in everyone's hands. And so, that's why I can't forgive statements that trample on my father's struggles. Sophie. Hearing her angry words, Kathy looked down again. Seemingly afraid to meet Sophie's eyes, Kathy finally spoke. "I'm truly sorry. I deeply apologize for my naive thoughts." "It's all right, Kathy." "Mr. Johnson." She tentatively raised her face. "I'm well aware that my disability has been an inconvenience to everyone." Saying this made both of them shake their heads. But I continued anyway. "When walking in a crowd, it's natural for people in a hurry to wish I wouldn't walk so slowly. I'm mindful in narrow stores too, but that's because the world is built for those without disabilities. It can't be helped." Hearing this, they both fell silent. Seeing their reactions, I cheerfully suggested, "Let's end this discussion here." I shifted the conversation to a different work topic, and we didn't talk about anything else after that. Later, I received an overly formal apology letter from Kathy. She had gone to the trouble of handwriting a lengthy message on a paper, sealing it in an envelope. Inside the envelope, along with the letter, was a proposal. A cafe adopting universal design where both able-bodied and disabled people can enjoy together. It was a plan for a store that integrates a cafe with our company's interior goods. The design sketches were sent in a separate email. They included designs with no elevation changes for those with walking difficulties. The proposal also includes the installation of handrails that balance both aesthetics and functionality, as well as the development of chairs that are easy to sit in. The proposal also suggested providing tableware that could be used by people with arm and hand disabilities, allowing everyone to choose according to their needs. Given the high land prices in urban areas where our headquarters is located, the proposal was envisioned to be implemented around the branch office. It was an excellent proposal. I couldn't help but call Kathy at the branch office. After receiving advice from you to approach things in my own way, I gave it some thought and came up with a proposal I sent you. Yes, it's a really interesting proposal. Let's definitely give it a try. It seems she had been doing a lot of thinking since that inspection day. I wanted to raise the issue of how we can live together without inconveniences, regardless of one's physical condition. This proposal was one of the initiatives presented as part of that idea. Impressed, I was determined to make this project a success as a company. As the president, I would do everything in my power to support it. After some time, the cafe started to become a reality. Kathy led the creation of the barrier-free interior. She had conducted thorough research by visiting facilities for the physically disabled. Rather than relying on imagination or consideration, she thoroughly identified the actual stress points for those directly affected by conducting realistic assessments. The completed interior was indeed something I could navigate without stress. But Kathy still seemed unsatisfied. "Are you going somewhere?" Having some time, I had Sophie drive me to see the cafe, where I ran into Kathy about to get into a company car. "Jess, I'm off to a university specializing in welfare to take lectures from the professors." "That's a great idea." Her proactive approach was truly befitting of a sales manager. She is also taking the lead in promoting it in various places. "Take care. I hope you come back with some interesting stories." As I walked beside her, Sophie offered these words of encouragement. "Yeah, I'll be back soon. I promise to bring back some great stories." Despite their previous tension, they had somehow become friends. They've even started going out together on their days off. After some time, the cafe project turned out to be a huge success. It gained a fair amount of attention on social media, and sales for our main line of interior products skyrocketed. I've been wondering if this single project might have already surpassed the shadow of Mel, under which she once felt pressured. It was on such a day, while I was pondering this, that I received a message. The cafe's social contributions had been recognized by the local government, and they wanted to award us. Naturally, we gratefully accepted the award. I hope this would further boost our company's morale. This award not only celebrated the cafe's success but also strongly affirmed Kathy's efforts in its planning. So, in addition to the external award, we'll also hold a ceremony within the company. I announced this during our weekly all-hands meeting. Of course, Kathy would be the one to receive the award. Her hard work was the reason for this excitement. We held a simple ceremony at the branch office. As the president, I read the award aloud and handed the trophy to Kathy. She received a round of applause from everyone, a celebration of her achievement. Thank you, Kathy. The cafe is a great success because of you. It's the fruit of your labor. Please continue to drive it forward. Yes, leave it to me. Her response was energetic, and her face was bright and refreshed. There was no sign of the pressure or inferiority complex she once had. Instead, her expression was filled with confidence and pride. Years after the accident, I still haven't been able to let go of my cane. I still attend rehabilitation sessions regularly. Dr. Miller, is there really nothing that can be done about this right leg? Since then, I've completely given up on making a full recovery. As a result, I now ask such questions more as a joke. Well, that's up to your will. The doctor would reply with a laugh. Sure. Though I say I've given up, I feel it's slightly different upon reflection. Even with my right leg not fully functional, the kindness and understanding of those around me allow me to work and live without issues. Realizing this made me less obsessed with a complete recovery. It might be inconvenient, but it's far from unhappy. So, I've decided to live with this disability for as long as I can. A society where everyone shows empathy and helps each other. A society where, regardless of any disabilities, people don't feel stressed. Like that cafe, I want to contribute through my work at the interior company to create more such places. Looking out the hospital window at the sky, these were my thoughts. At my usual bar, sipping on my regular whiskey on the rocks, I was suddenly addressed by a familiar voice from behind. Wait, what? Are you kidding me? Why are you here of all places? I turned around with a feeling of disgust as if I were scratching a glass with my nails. To my surprise, it was my ex-wife, Olivia. Olivia, what brings you here? That was my reply. Well, I like the ambience of this place, and I've taken a liking to it. It's a bit pricey, but my husband earns well, so the high prices suit us just fine. You, on the other hand, don't earn so much, so coming here must be quite a stretch for you, right? It's pathetic to see you trying to punch above your weight. Or perhaps you decided to blow all your savings for today. Poor thing. I could buy you a drink out of pity if you'd like. Olivia stood there, looking down at me as I sat, and went on a tirade all by herself. Wearing such a cheap shirt, you really do look ridiculous. Despite my intention to ignore Olivia's remarks, I couldn't help but feel slightly irritated. However, I knew better than to lose my cool, as that would only play into her hands. I just wished she would leave me alone and move to another seat. My pleasant time enjoying my drink was completely ruined. Then, to my dismay, Olivia decided to sit next to me. Feeling all right, you're probably still stuck in that dreary little salon, working as a hired hairstylist, living on a meager salary for life. How pitiful. On the contrary, my husband is about to be promoted to manager. Unlike you, he's a competent individual. It's astonishing how different you two are, despite being brothers. I really made the right choice by leaving you. Olivia continued to spew her venomous words. Being bombarded with so much sarcasm, I almost started to wonder if this was some kind of twisted service mentality. It might be Olivia's own way of providing entertainment, trying to amuse me. No, that couldn't be it. I shook my head to clear those thoughts and reminded myself once again of how terrible my ex-wife truly was. After all, Olivia was the woman who, while married to me, seduced my brother, and then divorced me to marry him. The fact that such an awful person exists outside of TV dramas still sends shivers down my spine. Wanting nothing to do with her, I resolved to keep my responses as neutral as possible. So Noah is moving up in the world. Congratulations. That's what I said to Olivia. Heh, such a pitiful younger brother. Olivia continued to look down on me with disdain. Then, a regular patron of the bar, Ava, who had been silently listening to our entire conversation, spoke up. Ava and I often met at this bar and shared stories with each other. Excuse me, I don't know what your relationship with Michael is, but you sure are arrogant. Listening to you is quite unpleasant. I don't know who you think you are, but do you even know anything about him, Michael, who's sitting right here? I hurriedly said to Ava. Ava, it's okay. There's no need for you to say anything. But Ava, tilting her wine glass with a triumphant look, said to me, You should just speak up. Why not put this superficial, vile woman in her place? Hearing this, Olivia raised her voice. What the? Who do you think you are, madam? It's rude to speak like that to someone you've just met. Mind your own business. Ignoring Olivia's words, Ava continued. Rude, that's funny coming from you, who's far ruder, but go ahead, take a good look with those murky eyes of yours. Mason, show this rude woman the magazine from earlier, please. Ava called out to Mason, the bar owner. The magazine, right. Here it is. Mason placed an issue of the internationally renowned fashion magazine, Beauty Woman, abbreviated as BW, on the counter where the three of us were seated. Wait, what is this? Olivia was taken aback as she looked at the cover of the magazine. My name is Michael. I grew up in a town just outside of New York, in a family of 4, my father, mother, brother Noah, and myself. My father was known to be good at drawing since he was a child and aimed for art school after high school, but after failing the entrance exams 3 times, he gave up on his dream. Having entered the workforce with just a high school diploma, he struggled to find a well-paying job. My mother, who was quite naive and sheltered, married my father by chance and resented him for their life of poverty and his lack of higher education. Because of this, Noah and I were raised with our mother constantly drilling into us that getting into a high-ranking school is the most important thing in life. Noah sincerely believed in what we were taught and never neglected his studies, even during the busy times of club activities in middle school, eventually advancing to a high school with a high academic standard. In high school, he maintained top grades and went on to attend a prestigious university, from which he graduated. However, I was not influenced by either my mother or Noah. Despite giving up on art school, my father would paint as a hobby on weekend and visit exhibitions of acquaintances who were painters. I was influenced by my father and shaped by his character. I'm going to check out some paintings at a gallery in Chelsea. Want to come along? I was often invited by my father on Sundays like this, and while my brother Noah had no interest at all, I was fascinated by art, so I frequently joined him on such outings. My father had many acquaintances in the art world, and as a child, I had many opportunities to meet artists who were friends of my father. This influenced my decision to become a hairdresser, leading me to enroll in a beauty school instead of high school after graduating from middle school. Most of my classmates went on to high school, and it's not that I didn't consider it. I thought that following my mother's advice to graduate from a good university and secure a job at a stable company was a perfectly fine path. But since Noah had already taken that path, I felt I didn't need to, and there was another reason. When I was in 9th grade, I overheard my mother saying to my father late at night, "How are we going to afford Michael's further education? With just Noah's tuition and tutor fees, our finances are already stretched thin." Though I felt guilty for eavesdropping, that became the deciding factor for me to feel that it was okay not to go to university. Admittedly, beauty school also required tuition, but I managed by working part-time to cover the costs and my personal expenses. I enjoyed my studies in beauty, which seemed to suit me well. Therefore, I never doubted that I was leading a successful life, and at 18, I was content with my job as an apprentice hairdresser, even though the pay was low. 2 years after entering the workforce, I was recognized as a hairdresser and started living independently. Life was tough, but manageable if I kept my expenses in check. Then, a turning point came after a class reunion when we turned 18. It's been a while, Michael. I was approached like this by Olivia, who was a classmate in elementary and middle school. Hi. I didn't remember her. No wonder. Despite attending the same elementary and middle schools, we were only in the same class once. And that one time was merely because she transferred to my school during the third term of third grade. In other words, we were only classmates for about 2 months. Forgotten by you, Michael. That's a shock. Olivia's words made me feel guilty. At 18, she was very beautiful, and given my work-focused, romance-free lifestyle, it's true that she caught my attention a bit. She asked for my contact, kept in touch, and even asked me out, so before I knew it, we were dating. She had a strong desire to marry, and after some contemplation, we registered our marriage at 23. As a hairdresser in a small suburban salon, I wasn't financially well off. We couldn't afford a lavish wedding, nor could we live luxuriously after marriage. I thought it would be better to wait until my income increased, but Olivia wanted to marry right now and wouldn't listen to reason, so I resolved myself to it. I wasn't living a wealthy life yet, but I was determined to gradually increase my income. After all, it wasn't just about me anymore. I had a family now. After registering our marriage, I dedicated even more time to studying beauty-related subjects in my spare time. The owner of the salon where I worked even discussed a possible promotion to manager, leaving me constantly pondering whether to accept or seek opportunities elsewhere. It happened just as things were coming to a head. About a year after we got married. Hi, we need to talk. I received a message from Noah, with whom I didn't usually communicate much. Wondering what it was about, I replied, "What's up?" and he asked to meet in person, so we arranged to meet after work the next day. At the cafe where we agreed to meet, not only Noah was waiting, but to my surprise, Olivia was there too. I came to talk to Noah today. Why is Olivia here? I asked, completely baffled by the situation, and took a seat opposite Noah and Olivia. I'm really sorry, Michael. Noah apologized deeply to me. Olivia remained silent. What are you apologizing for? I felt a strange discomfort in the air, making even the coffee tasteless. I should be the one to say it, not Noah. Olivia spoke up. I couldn't believe my ears. I'm sorry, Michael. I want to divorce you and be with Noah. Olivia stated firmly. I was utterly confused. I don't understand what you're saying. That was all I could muster in response. I've grown to dislike our marriage, and I've fallen in love with Noah. Olivia explained. Wait, Olivia, do you realize what you're saying? You're married to me, right? Falling in love with my brother. Don't you think that's wrong? How did things end up like this? I was lost, unable to figure out who was in the wrong or what went wrong. I know it's wrong to be with your wife, but Olivia's passion moved me too. Noel admitted. At that moment, something snapped inside me. I had resolved to protect my wife as family once we decided to marry, even though I was still unreliable, aiming to improve gradually. But Olivia had decided on her own to divorce me. And she involved my brother. I recalled her frequent late returns, but I too often came home late from work and thought she was just busy with her job. Was she meeting Noah all this time? I didn't know how it happened, nor did I want to know anymore. The fact was, my brother and wife were sitting in front of me, both saying the same thing. Fine, do as you please. Disgusted, I left the cafe. However, since Olivia and I lived together, she returned home after I did. The atmosphere was awkward, but I confronted her. I wish you had spoken up if you were dissatisfied with me. Olivia replied, I like you as a person, Michael, but I prefer Noah because he has a higher education and income. I was trembling with anger. Yet, knowing that women might seek education and income, I tried to calm myself, thinking it was inevitable. Sorry for not earning more, but did you have to go about it this way? I managed to keep my cool as I said this. Olivia simply stated, I'm not to blame, and went to her room. Watching her leave, I felt utterly indifferent. Even if I was at fault for not providing enough, wanting to remarry my brother. And if Olivia only saw Noah as a man with high education and income, it seemed like she was just using him conveniently. I thought Noah was crazy to consider being with his brother's wife, but he was supposed to be a serious, hard-working person. True, he was stubborn and strong-willed because of his earnestness. I worried that Noah was being manipulated by Olivia. Noah, think it over again. Olivia said she wants to marry you because you are well-educated and have a high income. If she doesn't truly love you, I'm worried about the future. I messaged him that night. But his reply was disappointing. It's uncool to say such things just because you want to keep Olivia. I was disheartened. I had no lingering feelings for Olivia. In fact, I doubted her character. So, I wanted to warn my brother to prevent him from becoming another victim. But this was ultimately a matter of personal judgment between adults, so I felt I couldn't say anything more to Noah. And so, I agreed to the divorce. I felt neither loneliness nor regret. Instead, I felt a sense of relief. To avoid worrying our parents and Olivia's, I assured them, we've discussed this thoroughly and are all in agreement, so please don't worry. After the divorce was finalized, I never saw Noah or Olivia again. I made sure to visit my family home on different days to avoid crossing paths with them. And then, 3 years went by. By that time, I was living my days hardly ever thinking about my ex-wife and brother. For a while after the divorce, I was frequently overwhelmed by a sense of unbearable sadness and went through some tough times. I felt no sorrow whatsoever for losing Olivia. It was the memory of my wife and brother wanting to marry each other during our marriage that made me distrustful of people for a while. However, time is the greatest healer, and after 3 years, my wounds had healed and the flashbacks had ceased. I was living a peaceful and happy life. Then one day, after work, I stopped by my usual bar. Little did I know at the time that something unbelievable was about to happen here. As I sipped my usual whiskey on the rocks at the counter, I was suddenly addressed by a familiar voice from behind. Wait, what? Are you kidding me? Why are you here of all places? I turned around with a feeling of disgust as if I were scratching a glass with my nails. To my surprise, it was my ex-wife, Olivia. Olivia, what brings you here? That was my reply. Well, I like the ambience of this bar, and it's a bit pricey, but my husband earns well, so it suits us just fine. You, on the other hand, must be stretching your budget to come here. Trying to act above your station is just pathetic. Or did you decide to splurge all your savings today? Poor thing. I could buy you a drink out of pity if you'd like. Olivia stood there, looking down at me seated, and rambled on by herself. I chose to remain silent, listening to her without engaging, knowing that arguing would only bring me down to her level. Undeterred, Olivia continued. Wearing such a cheap shirt, you really do look ridiculous. Despite my intention to ignore her, I couldn't help but feel a bit irritated by her comments. However, getting angry would only play into her hands, so I kept my cool. All I wanted was for her to leave me alone and move to another seat. My pleasant time enjoying my drink was completely ruined. Then, unbelievably, Olivia decided to sit next to me. 2 Kir Royales, please. Olivia ordered from Mason, the bartender, and within 3 minutes, 2 Kir Royales were placed in front of us with a thud. Here you go. Handed one of the drinks by Olivia, I nearly fell off my chair. Wait, this is for me. Surprised, I said that, and Olivia replied, of course, it's not like I'm going to drink both at the same time. I'm not really into sweet drinks. Mixing sweet liqueur with sweet juice, I just don't get it, I said to myself, truly perplexed. But not wanting to cause a scene by refusing Olivia's offer, I simply said, thank you, and accepted the glass filled with the murky-colored drink. Doing all right, still slaving away in that rundown little salon, I bet. Living on such a meager salary is just pitiful. Unlike you, my husband is about to be promoted to manager. It's amazing how 2 brothers can be so different. I really made the right choice by leaving you. Olivia went on a tirade all by herself, again laden with sarcasm. Being bombarded with so much sarcasm, I almost started to wonder if this was some kind of twisted service mentality. It might be Olivia's own way of providing entertainment, trying to amuse me. Or maybe not. I shook my head to clear it and reminded myself of just how terrible my ex-wife really was. After all, Olivia was the woman who, while married to me, seduced my brother and then divorced me to remarry him. The fact that such an awful person exists not just in dramas but in reality still sends shivers down my spine. Wanting nothing more to do with her, I resolved to keep my responses as non-committal as possible. No is moving up in the world. Congratulations. I said that to Olivia. What a pitiful younger brother. Olivia continued to look down on me with disdain. Then, Ava, a regular patron who had been silently listening to our entire conversation, decided to speak up. Ava and I often met at this bar and would share stories with each other. Hey, you. I don't know what your relationship with Michael is, but you sure are arrogant. It's quite unpleasant to listen to. I don't know what your status is, but do you even know anything about him, Michael, sitting here? I quickly said to Ava. Ava, it's okay. There's no need to say anything more. But Ava, tilting her wine glass with a triumphant look, said to me, Michael should just speak up. Why not put this superficial, vile woman in her place? Hearing this, Olivia raised her voice. What the? Who do you think you are, madam? It's rude to speak like that to someone you've just met. Mind your own business. Ignoring Olivia's words, Ava continued. Rude, that's funny coming from you, who's far ruder. But go ahead, take a good look with those murky eyes of yours. Mason, show this rude woman the magazine from earlier, please. Ava called out to Mason, the bar owner. The magazine, right. Here it is. Mason placed an issue of the internationally renowned fashion magazine, Beauty Woman, abbreviated as BW, on the counter where the 3 of us were seated. Wait, what is this? Olivia was taken aback as she looked at the cover of the magazine. That's right, the man on the cover is Michael. Ava said with even more pride. No way, isn't this a photo with the global music icon, Maria Smith? What's going on? Olivia, in panic, flipped through the magazine. Wait, a 10-page feature on Maria and Michael. Why? Olivia frantically flipped back and forth through the magazine, looking at the articles and photos. Then she demanded an explanation from me. Explain this, Michael. Ava began to explain on my behalf. As you can see, Michael has become the exclusive hair and makeup artist for the world-famous singer Maria. His talent has been highly praised, and he's been offered to do hair and makeup for models and fashion shows by famous designers who appear in Paris Fashion Week. You, with your dowdy fashion sense, probably only know about domestic matters and are clueless about the global scene. Michael, the hair and makeup artist, is a celebrity worldwide. While listening, Olivia kept muttering, "No way," in disbelief. Then she exclaimed, "But Michael, you were just a hairstylist in a small suburban salon. How did you rise so high all of a sudden?" "I participated in various contests while working as a hairstylist, even when we were married. I talked to you about it, but you looked down on me, didn't listen, and showed no interest. I didn't make it in domestic contests, but when I took a chance on international ones, I was recognized. That's how I got noticed by a famous hair and makeup artist, trained under them, and then entered bigger contests. I won a grand prize in one of them, which led to my role as Maria's exclusive artist." Though I thought it unnecessary to explain all this to Olivia, Ava had already shared so much about me, so I reluctantly added my own explanation. "That's amazing, Michael," Olivia said, then added, "As expected of my ex-husband, I'm his ex-wife. Let's meet up as exes sometime. For starters, I'd love to get Maria's autograph. Can you introduce me to her in person?" I was astounded by her sudden change in attitude upon learning of my connections with famous people. Truly superficial. "You really are despicable. Stay away from Michael. I don't care if you're his ex-wife or whatever. You have no relation to him now. And by the way, you called Michael's shirt cheap earlier, but it's from a famous brand. You can't even recognize quality." Ava raised her voice. But Olivia, undeterred, said, "Hey, Michael, actually, I've been regretting it. I think you were the better man after all. Noah has been all about work lately and doesn't pay attention to me. I'm lonely. Please, I'm going to divorce Noah anyway. So won't you give us another chance?" While she intertwined her arm with mine, I instinctively shook her off, saying, "Stop it." Ava then remarked, "Michael, you really shook her off from the bottom of your heart. Well, of course. There's no way you'd get back together with such a woman, because..." Just then, as Ava was about to continue, she exclaimed, "Speak of the devil," and I turned around in response to her shout, only to see a familiar figure. Emma. The woman I called Emma was my girlfriend. "Emma, don't get the wrong idea. Michael did nothing wrong. It's this woman who's at fault. She came onto him unilaterally," Ava explained on my behalf. "Yes, I saw everything. You're Olivia, Michael's ex-wife, right? He's shown me a photo of you before. I know how much Michael truly despises you. I've been watching from a distance for a while now. You're really shameless." Emma said that. Ava laughed heartily, saying, "The always quiet and kind Emma, speaking such sharp words." And Olivia, turning pale, said, "Wait a minute, Emma, isn't she Michael's childhood friend?" Emma was taken aback. "Wait, how does she know about me? That's scary." Then, a familiar male voice spoke up. "Olivia, what was that earlier? Asking Michael to start over, getting so close to him." Noah, my brother and Olivia's husband, stood there. "What, Noah? When did you get here?" Olivia was flustered. "I saw you coming onto Michael. I heard everything. We're getting a divorce, you deceitful person," Noah said, his voice trembling. Then, turning to Michael, "I know I wronged you by marrying Olivia in such a manner, but I've finally seen the light. I was naive, fooled by Olivia's convenient lies and deceit. I feel ashamed of myself. I sincerely apologize for hurting you, my brother. I truly am sorry." "It's okay. I don't hold a grudge. If you've come to your senses, that's good. But maybe you should be more discerning about women," I said, and he replied, "You're right. I'll reflect on this. I'll start over after the divorce." Olivia, in panic, clung to Noah's arm. "No way. I won't accept a divorce. What are you saying, Noah? Didn't we swear our love to each other?" But Noah, with a look of disgust, shook off her arm. Don't touch me. Regarding the divorce, I'll have my lawyer contact you." Olivia was in tears. But, that's so cruel. I've loved you since we were kids. When I transferred in elementary school, you were so kind to me. I dreamt of marrying you someday, and when we met again at the reunion as adults, I was so happy we could date and then marry. And this Emma. She was just a girl from another school who attended the same swimming class as you in elementary school, right? I always saw you were returning from the class with her, and now you're with her. That's so unfair. I loved you more." Olivia sobbed as she spoke. I was dumbfounded. "Then why did you decide to divorce me and remarry my brother while we were married? That's just cruel, isn't it? Do you understand how I felt when I was betrayed by both my wife and brother? Have you ever considered anyone else's feelings? You just want whatever you desire at the moment, right? That's childish thinking. No, even children can understand other people's pain. After our divorce, I struggled with insomnia because of the emotional pain. Then, through a friend from my hometown, I reconnected with Emma, who comforted and supported me during my tough times. She thought about my pain with me, and now, Olivia, you've hurt my brother Noah. In front of him, you came onto me, asking to start over. How many times do you need to hurt people before you're satisfied? You're truly the worst." As I vented, Olivia tearfully said, "But it's natural to want a husband who is capable and earns well, right? I left you for Noah because he had a higher income, but now you have become successful and famous. So naturally, I want to get back with you, right?" In the next moment, Ava burst into laughter, saying, "Michael and Noah, this woman is unbelievable. Cut ties with her quickly." Then, turning to Olivia, Ava said, "Olivia, I can somewhat understand your feelings, but fundamentally, you're wrong as a person. If you want, I'm always here at this bar. Come and see me, and I'll give you a thorough scolding to straighten you out." Then, Mason interjected, "Once you enter Abba's lecture hell, even crying children go silent." Hearing this, I also added, "I know, I've seen several people shaken by her lecture hell right here." Mason and I chuckled together, but Noah and Olivia were frozen with expressionless faces. "I'll be staying at a hotel for the next 3 days. Leave the house within that time. I'll proceed with the divorce proceedings starting tonight," Noah said to Olivia. Realizing he was serious, Olivia silently settled the bill with Mason and left the bar alone. "You did well to speak up. I roughly get the story. So you were deceived by that woman for a long time, right? Well, your sin is not forgivable. You have no choice but to reflect deeply. Michael here is a magnanimous man, so I think he'll forgive you. For now, buy Michael a drink, and me too, while you're at it," Ava said, looking at Noah. "Understood. Mason, please get a drink for Michael, Ava, and also for Emma," Noah responded. Then, I made Noah sit one seat away from me and Ava, and I moved next to Emma at the counter. Today was supposed to be the anniversary of my marriage to Olivia. I never imagined it would turn out like this," Noah said, dejected. Ava silently comforted him by patting his shoulder. "But Noah, you're stubborn once you make up your mind. If you've decided to start over after leaving Olivia, I'm sure happiness will come your way," I encouraged him. "I'm sorry for being such a terrible brother who hurt you. Thank you," Noah apologized. "Well, it's all good now. The evil spirit is gone. Cheers." Ava raised her cocktail glass high, given by Noah. More importantly, today is a significant day for Michael. Forget about Noah. If you're truly repentant as a brother, celebrate his new beginning," Ava said to Noah. "A new beginning?" Noah asked that question. "Yes, actually, I'm moving to France for a while because of work, so." I took a small box out of my pocket. "Emma, please come with me. Let's get married. I promise to make you happy." Inside the box was a ring. I had told Emma about moving to France, but it was the first time I asked her to come with me. Tears welled up in Emma's eyes as she answered strongly, "Thank you, I'd be happy to. Come with you, I'll support you as your wife for life." In the next moment, Mason quietly started clapping. Noticing this, Ava stood up and shouted, "Bravo!" clapping loudly. The other customers in the bar also turned to us and joined in the applause. When I glanced over, Noah was crying tears of joy. Half a year passed, and I had expanded my work and network in France, achieving great success as a hair and makeup artist. Emma and I were living happily together. And then, after a long while, I returned to the US for a visit and went to my parents' house. My mother said something like this. "The other day, Olivia's parents came over to apologize. We were worried when you and Olivia divorced and she married Noah. But you told us we all agreed on it, so don't worry." After talking with her parents, we finally understood the whole story. It was quite a mess. They seemed really sorry for raising Olivia to be so selfish. "Well, I always thought you boys lacked judgment in women." My mother said this and laughed. She raised us with a belief in the absolute importance of a high education, but now she's become more understanding and supports my career. Of course, my father is fully supportive of me too. By the way, Noah seems to be dating a woman his age that he met at work. I hope it works out for him this time, like it did for you and Emma. My mother shared this news with me. I was happy to hear it. I want Noah to be happy too. And now, even for Olivia. I hope she learns from her mistakes so her parents don't have to apologize for her again at their age. Everyone makes wrong choices in life. Of course, it's better not to make mistakes, but what matters is how you handle them afterward. I believe not everything in my future will be smooth sailing, but I'll cherish each moment and move forward. I have a place in France. There's still so much more to explore. Leaving my parents' house, I looked up at the sky, ready to board the plane.